Welcome to In My Feelings, a safe space to talk all things NBA. I'm your host, Big Wos. Let's go. All right, guys, this is what we've all been waiting for. This is what we drudged through this long, old NBA season. You know, nights watching the G Leaguers, glorified G Leaguers on Charlotte, Utah playing God knows who at point guard. Like all of these just, quite frankly, horrible regular season nights that we get between November and April, with some great bright spots in between. All of it culminates into this moment right here. We're back at the playoffs, man. I think when you're an NBA fan, this time of year is what you live for, especially nowadays in the modern NBA where there's just frankly a lot more parity and it's a lot less predictable. We haven't had a repeat NBA champion since 2018, the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Iguodala, Draymond Green Warriors. Guys, that's 7 years since a repeat, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But I think that's what makes the playoffs now so exciting. It's just you cannot say who's definitely going to win the championship. And so I think this year's first round actually exists in that spirit, man. And so I wanted to make some prediction for you guys. Let me get my little crystal ball going for y'all. The crystal ball that I bought from the swap meet the other day. Let me get this crystal ball going and give you guys some playoff predictions. All right, man. And because most of the outstanding playoff series this year, I think, especially in the first round, reside in the Western Conference, we're going to go ahead and start off with the Western Conference. Golden State Warriors just was able to snatch up the 7th seed with their play-in victory, a thriller, against Memphis just last night. And they get to face the 2 seed Houston Rockets, an upstart team, bunch of young guys, athletic, physical, play with an attitude, have an identity that's been instilled in them by their coach, Ime Udoka. These guys, man, get after it. They are not going to be out-efforted. They're not going to be out-hustled. And I think they present a nice challenge for Golden State because of the myriad of athletic, defensively locked in, and not just locked in, but talented players that they have on the roster. And they're going to need all of these guys. They're going to have to throw many different bodies and looks at Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler specifically. And that means Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, Fred VanVleet, who traditionally has had a nice run of guarding stuff around the screens, like staying connected with Steph as he navigates the freaking maze of screens that he puts most defenders through. I think this is going to be a super hyper competitive series. However, I hate to be basic. Like most pundits, I think Golden State's experience and just the Hall of Fame talents of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler are going to win the day. Specifically, I think on the defensive end. While, as versatile and multiple as Houston has showed themselves to be on defense this year, they've been the opposite of that on offense. And I think in the half court specifically, generating efficient looks against a set defense in Golden State, who, between Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, we're talking about 2 of the highest IQ players that of my lifetime, to be honest. I'm not even joking, collectively between them. And Houston's offense is just very predictable. I think they do have a sort of trump card in the sense that, one, Golden State is traditionally has been a high turnover team, although those turnovers have come down since the Jimmy Butler trade because he's just such a low turnover player. So traditionally, Golden State has been a high turnover team. That's a way to generate easy buckets in transition. Also, when Houston goes to their 2 big lineup with Şengün, with Steven Adams, they're going to generate a lot of offensive rebounding. So are they going to be able to generate enough turnovers and offensive rebounding to offset their half-court defense, specifically on the initial shot? Half-court offense. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think they're going to be a whale of a defense for even somebody like Steph at age 37 to overcome, and Jimmy, who dropped damn near 40 in the play-in victory, which is essentially a playoff game, his first with Golden State. I think they're going to have their work cut out for them, but ultimately, Golden State, to me, is going to win this series on the defensive end. Give me the Dubs in 6. All right, next up, staying on the Western Conference, we have the Lakers, the 3 seed in the West, against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the 6 seed. I think this is going to be a fascinating series, knock them out, drag them out type of series. Although the Wolves, I think, came out the gate and pretty much disappointed. The way they've played the last 6 weeks and the last, basically 2 months, they've played very close to the level of the team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year. And, I think they're going to be a formidable foe. I don't think you could take this series for granted. I think this is literally a coin flip type of series. And the Lakers, at the end of the day, they got Luka Doncic. They have LeBron James. Their best lineup right now is their small ball lineup where they put Finney-Smith and Rui Hachimura at the 4 and the 5, and they just swarm everybody. They rotate like hell. They're always in the right spot. Just a collectively just smart, sort of unit. I just think Luka, man, just feels comfortable playing against the likes of Gobert, playing against the likes of Julius Randle. When your bigs don't give Luka problems on a switch, or, on a double on the pick and roll and things of that nature, I just think he's going to be really comfortable this series. So I give the Lakers the slight edge. But, man, I really do think this is going to ultimately be like a really close series. And I think it's going to go 7. It's my opinion that Ant Edwards, the Lakers don't have an excellent matchup for him. He's either too big or too quick for everybody they could throw at him. Like Rui, is a strong guy, but he doesn't have the foot speed to deal with Ant Edwards. God knows Luka Doncic does it, right? I think Vando could be an interesting, option throwing against Luka, but I just don't really see it. I think Ant's gonna have a great series. I really do. He's playing, he's peaking right now. He's going to be highly motivated. He seems to up his game, both offensively and defensively, against the more name recognition players in our league. The Devin Bookers, the KDs, the Tatum and the Browns. He gets up for those games. And I think he'll be super up for this series. So I do think this will go 7 games, but ultimately I give the edge to the Lakers with home court advantage. Lakers in 7. All right, guys, next series. Hold on, let me rub the crystal ball again. We're rubbing this crystal ball like it's Derek White's bald head. The Clippers versus Denver. Denver's the 4, Clippers the 5. A rematch from the 2020 playoffs where this is such an interesting series because 2020 is important for several reasons. One, I think it's the first playoffs that this Denver nucleus put it all together and showed that they had the championship sort of talent and know-how in-house to challenge the Western powers. I think that 2020 playoff run in the bubble cemented that truth. And it kind of took off from there, ultimately culminating in the 2023 championship for the Denver Nuggets. And also, I think that series is important because it's the last time Kawhi Leonard finished the playoffs on the floor. Think about that. It's 2025. The last time Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers franchise player, finished a playoff series on the court was 2020 against the Nuggets. Also happens to be the series where they coughed up, choked up a 3-1 lead, losing 3 straight to Denver in the bubble where they was like, oh, we were just dying to get back to our families, so we lost. Quite pathetic showing by the Clippers there. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to this series for several reasons. I think the Clippers are playing as good at basketball as literally anybody, and I would even count OKC amongst that in terms of the last 17 to 20 games for the Clippers. The defense has been elite all year, but Kawhi specifically looks more and more like the superstar that, everybody expected him to be when he signed all those years ago in the summer of 2019. He looks so quick with the ball in his hand. He's even got burst in terms of hops and finishing at the cup. He's getting that separation. The jumper looks incredibly wet. I think it's for that reason I think they're going to be a problem for Denver in this series. James Harden, he's playing his best ball as a Clipper since becoming a Clipper, which is saying something when you consider that he's just getting up there in age. The chemistry he's developed with Zubac has been incredible. Another thing, by the numbers, Zubac is the single best defender one-on-one of Nikola Jokic in the NBA. That's That's got to count for something. Zub has emerged as one of the 5 best, in my opinion, 5 or 6 best defensive players in the entire NBA. He's a monster finishing down low. I just think the Clippers do have a ton going for them right now. However, I think they're going to have to play Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn a decent amount if they think they're going to slow down Denver's offense, which even with all the injuries to Murray, to Aaron Gordon, the porous, depth and bench and young guys not coming through, despite all of those truths, when Nikola Jokic is on the floor this year, the Denver Nuggets have the best offense in the history of the NBA. Saying all of that. So what does that mean? That means the Clippers are going to have to put one-way players and Chris Dunn and Jones Jr. on the floor for significant portions of the game. And I think that's just going to make their offense a lot more vulnerable and allow Denver to be able to guard them just well enough in order to squeak this thing out. However, man, Denver's deficiencies aren't lost on me. Murray is hurt, hamstring, all kinds of things. His effort kind of comes in and out. They fired their coach with three games left in the season. Porter Jr., God knows what you're going to get out of him. I think the roster outside of Jokic understands that it's do or die time. Ownership is being really aggressive about changing things. So that means players might be on the go. And so there's a lot in the air, man. But I got to say, when it comes to Nikola Jokic, it's just hard for me to bet against that guy. I think it's going to be a dogfight, 7 games for sure. But I do think ultimately the Nuggets will prevail and move on to the second round. All right, the last series, kind of the only Eastern Conference series that I wanted to highlight, and that is the Pacers and the Bucks for 2 reasons. The Pacers and the Bucks have developed a mutual hatred for each other that I think makes every single playoff series more fun for having that element involved. And I think it's interesting because it's the first time Giannis is really going to be playing since probably 2022 playoffs. If you guys will remember when the Bucks, ultimately, the series that blew up that championship nucleus, sent Drew Holiday out of the town and brought Dame Lillard in, was 23 against the Miami Heat, where they got pantsed and Jimmy Butler utterly destroyed these guys. Giannis missed 2 or 3 games in that series. So he barely played in the 2023 playoffs. This would be the first time he's actually going to see significant action in the playoffs in a minute, albeit without his co-star, his fellow All-Star and fellow future Hall of Famer Dame Lillard, who's out with the blood clot issues. And so just for the Giannis one-man wrecking crew element alone, I find this series to be interesting. And I think it's also going to be a test case for the concept of how effective can an offense be when it's just Giannis as a battering ram. Mad predictable, spread them out, no real other shot creation to be mentioned unless you count Kevin Porter Jr. or Kyle Kuzma. How effective that could be. And I think, man, Indiana 2 years ago, they were a joke of a defense, pretty terry cloth. That means you're very soft if we're being honest. But that's not the case anymore, man. That's not the case when Nembhard and Nesmith and Pascal and all these other guys are playing, or Jarris Walker, as my guy Rob Mahoney would point out. They're just a way tougher defensive team. And because the Bucks are going to be so predictable, as great as Giannis has looked down the stretch, as Dame's been down, they won 8 straight games or something against suspect competition, but 8 straight wins nonetheless. I just think it's going to be compelling for that sort of how far can the Bucks go with Giannis just literally carrying everybody on his back. That being said, man, I just think Indiana's offense is kind of a bit of a machine, well-oiled one at that. And their defense is now way more competent than it's been in recent memory. And I think they're going to take this series in 6 games. And so that's my prediction. Indy in 6. All right, folks, that's our show for today. Please stay tuned with us, man, for the entire duration of the playoffs. We're going to be locked in over here at In My Feelings. Make sure you subscribe to the Ringer NBA's YouTube page. Hit the like button. Hit that notification bell so that you're alerted every single time we drop a brand new In My Feelings. We will see you guys next week. Peace out.